They can't.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to reconvene. We have 3 public meetings this afternoon. For those of you folks that don't see our mayor here, he's at a very important event down at the University of Guelph. We have a local resident that's up for a fairly large award. So we'll go ahead without him. We have 3, like I said, we have 3 public meetings, and welcome. We'll start with the Lutenegger issue. The public meeting is to consider the amendment to the Town of Minto zoning bylaw number 0186 for property located on the west part of Lot 30, Concession 1. It's a municipal address of 5704 Wellington Road for Town of Minto. I'm going to be the chair of this public meeting. So I have called it to order, and I ask anybody that has not signed, would you please take a moment and sign the register. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to an appeal. The decision of the Town of Minto to the local planning appeal tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Okay, so we'll ask our acting clerk, Duff, to state the municipal address and the legal description of the property.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This property, subject to the proposed amendment, is located on West Part Lot 30, Concession 1, with the municipal address of 5704 Wellington Road 4, Town of Minto. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone the retained agricultural portion of the property to prohibit any future residential development. This rezoning is a condition of severance application B-12518, which has been granted provisional consent by the Wellington County Land Division Committee. The consent will sever a 0.81 hectare, 2-acre rural residential parcel from the retained 19.4 hectare, 48-acre vacant agricultural parcel. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, on April 18, 2019, and posted on the subject property. Following comments were received from Jessica Rahim, Planner, County of Wellington, and the report is attached, and Town of Minto Building Assistant, and the report is attached as well.
Thank you, Gord. So we'll ask Jessica, our county planner, to provide comments. Sorry.
If
Linda.
I can just, I'd like to introduce
Perfect.
these 2 ladies in the front row. So we've had some staff changes at the county. Curtis has moved into a new role, so he will no longer be attending the Northern Townships. But I've replaced Curtis with Jessica Rahim, who is a new planner in the office. She was a junior planner, been promoted. And also Michelle Insetti, who is a senior planner in the office, and she actually was working in the Southern Townships, and she has now moved over to the Northern Townships. So this is our North team right here. So these are who you will be seeing up here at your council meetings.
Going north is a promotion.
Well, that's right. They both left the south and came to the north, so, and it was not a hard sell.
Thank you, Linda, and welcome to the north, ladies.
So, thank you very much. So a little bit more onto the application. So it's a surplus farm severance. So you guys have probably seen a couple of these, but this rezoning is a condition on severance application B-125/18, which has been granted provisional consent by the Wellington County Land Division Committee. So the consent will sever a 2-acre rural residential parcel from the 48-acre vacant agricultural parcel. And there is an existing barn on the property that's shown in our aerial photos. So the aerial photos are from 2015, but that is a condition as well on the severance to remove the barn on the 2-acre parcel. And what would be remaining there is the dwelling and the shed, and we had no concerns with the proposed amendment. It's been removed, so that's
So the barn has been removed. Thank you, Jessica. Can we save our comments till after? Okay. Then we'll ask Michelle. Is Michelle here? Yeah, Michelle's here. To provide comments regarding the proposed amendment to the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 0186.
So council may recall that the proposed severance was presented on January 22nd, 2019, and the motion was passed in favor provided that our standard conditions were met. Since that time, the applicant has removed the barn and all other environmental conditions have been as far as that is concerned. So this is the very last one. And staff in the building department and public works department met to re-review the application and no additional concerns were met. So we respectfully recommend that council passes the proposed bylaw in question.
Thank you. So do we have the applicant here? Is there anything else you want to step up to the mic? Is there anything else you want to say? State your name and.
I am the applicant, Crystal Lutenaker, and no additional comment other than just to say that the barn has been removed, and thanks for hearing this.
Okay, thank you. So is there anybody else questions? Anybody want to comment in favor of the proposed amendment? It's fairly straightforward. We have definitely heard these before. So anybody in opposition to the amendment? Okay, so the next is the applicant or agent. No rebuttals necessary. All right, so I'm going to say that if you wish to be notified of the decision of the council, the town council. Oh, pardon me. I apologize. Any other questions? Any of the council want to comment on this? Okay, so if you wish to be notified of the decision of the council of the town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the deputy clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, NOG 1ZO, or by email to annaline@townofminto.on.ca. So no further comments. I'll adjourn this public meeting. We'll move into the second public meeting. ZBA 2019-06, the Black Rose Reserve Inc., Minto Road Industrial Park. Thanks for coming, you guys. So the public meeting is to consider an amendment to the Town of Minto bylaw number 0186 for property located part lot 24, concession 1, and is in a municipal known as 345 Minto Road, Palmerston. I will be the chair of this public meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. And if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, a person or public body is not entitled to appeal that decision of the Town of Minto to the local planning appeal tribunal. And the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Acting Clerk Duff.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Turton. The project subject to the proposed amendment is located on part lot 24, concession 1, and is municipally known as 345 Minto Road, Palmerston. Purpose and effect is to rezone the property to permit the indoor cultivation of cannabis on the subject lands for a micro-cultivation and micro-processing facility. The proposal is for a new 483 square meter or 5,200 square foot greenhouse for cultivation activities and a new 511 square meter or 5,500 square foot office and production facility. The proposed facility includes both industrial and agricultural components. The processing component of the operation, the processing of harvested cannabis, is permitted by the industrial M1 zoning on the property as an industrial use. However, it is the introduction of indoor cultivation of cannabis and agricultural use which requires an amendment to the zoning bylaw. Health Canada identifies that it is the applicant's responsibility to address all local requirements. The proposed facility is subject to federal legislation and approval must be obtained from Health Canada above and beyond any municipal requirements in order for the proposal to proceed. The Cannabis Act includes site design requirements which must be met for facilities related to security and air quality. Notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on April the 18th, 2019, and posted on the subject property. The following comments were received from Son Rozon, the president of Black Rose Reserve Inc., and here's a PowerPoint attached. On your desk, there's a revised County of Wellington report from Jessica Rahim. The building assistant has also provided a report, and just a few minutes ago, we have a report from the Upper Grand District School Board, Jennifer Passy.
Thank you, Gord. So we'll start with who we can start with. All right, so we'll start with the applicant or their agent. Welcome. Welcome, Sean. You've been here before?
Yes, I have.
Perfect.
For the sale of the actual rights.
Okay.
Thank you again for taking time this evening to let me present to you guys about our zoning reapplication. So tonight I'll just cover some basics about our company and what our project and plan is. Some time. Flip to the next slide. And we'll start with who we are as a company. So this is our core management team. It includes myself, my brother, our master grower, and VP quality assurance. For myself, I have worked in a number of different industries and always wanted to start my business. This is sort of my opportunity to do so. It always had many work experiences in operational roles and have done a lot of leadership type activities. This culminated after my degree working for a large multinational company called Mitsui Canada. And I was in charge of their cash and treasury operations for a little over 3 years. And so I'm bringing that experience to this to manage our business. My brother will be working as a financial leader. He's now a certified CPA and has about 10 years of experience in accounting, project accounting, and now works for Sun Life, managing one of their mutual fund entities. Our master grower is going to be Dr. Eric Landry. He has multitude of experience horticulturally. He's a PhD in plant breeding and genetics, and he's bringing a competitive advantage to us. And he will be our production and cultivation manager. Along Soa, who has 25 years of experience in pharmaceutical, natural health products, and the food industry, which are all regulated by Health Canada. She's going to be our regulatory leader and full insurance leader within the company. We're quite confident that she'll be able to help us navigate the Health Canada licensing requirements. This land rezoning and purchase being a major part of that. She actually works running her own small business consultancy right now in these areas. Pretty sure she'll be able to help guide us through that. Rough idea of what our corporate structure will be. I'm kind of the leader, brother takes care of the finance, the cultivation, doing all the quality control. We'll be adding sales and marketing in the future. So, for Black Rose Reserve, we feel that the method or way that we do things is quite often just as, if not more important than the outcome of our actions. And we passionately want to create and provide high quality, clean products for our niche cannabis consumer. And we believe that it's our ethos, this way or method that we do business, that drives it. So at all times and where feasibly, we want to be able to create the greatest positive impact from our business. How we see doing that is our ethos driving us towards what we consider the pursuit of the triple bottom line. Every business has an impact socially, environmentally, and economically. And it's critical that we have all these things in mind in order to move forward. So as I presented on this slide, if you evaluate that, we do plan on getting involved in the community and positive in the future, and we can do that. We also want to support good employment for ourselves and people in the community, and also to reduce our environmental impact over time, and to bring that to net zero as much as possible. So now that you know who we are, go over the opportunity we're pursuing. You kind of know some of the details of that. As you know, the regulations changed. Cannabis Act, we're applying for the microcultivation and processing under that Cannabis Act and targeting recreational products, which I'm sure you're familiar with as well. Just to make sure that everyone knows the requirements of the microscale operations, we still have to have strict physical security requirements. All of our management team and any major investors in our company also have to pass rigorous RCMP clearances in order to get that license and maintain it in the future. So security is one of the top elements in our minds moving forward. And these licenses allow us only to grow 2,150 square feet of cannabis and only process 600 kilograms per year. So that also gives you a sense of the scale of the operation. Yes. So, as you've probably seen by this slide here, or if you take a look, these are some of our accomplishments to date. Land rezoning and purchase is also one of the major ones that will dictate our success for the future. Key being hiring a master grower, BPPA, developing our core facility design, and of course protecting our PTIP. Give you a sense of what our strategy is going forward, so that you know that we're going to be able to be successful in the cannabis market. The key, obviously, which you're well familiar with from another applicant in the area, the licensing is key. With this rezoning application and municipal support of that, we're far more likely to succeed at getting our licensing through Health Canada. And it's one of the initial steps that we need to succeed at getting our licensing. After that, we plan on building a consumer brand, building out our key and well-designed facility so that we can grow specifically high-quality cannabis organically, and then eventually differentiate ourselves versus competitors. Some of our key goals, obviously, to succeed at this is being able to produce quality cannabis, building out that brand, and developing some good positive initiatives in the local community, as well as meeting $5 million in sales per year. As you described quite well in the previous report, we do plan on building about 11,000 square foot, maybe slightly under that facility. 5,000 square feet would be specific for cannabis. Cultivation, the rest will be processing offices. One thing that I would like to note, we are considering changing our design away from a greenhouse to more of a closed indoor facility. This is mainly to address quality concerns growing cannabis, but also because we've noted in the industry a number of concerns about odor control in the community. We don't want to create any negative impact that's unnecessary, so the idea of going to a closed and sealed environment is that we can control that exhaust. We plan to filter that through carbon filtration and potentially use odor neutralizers as well if that's still insufficient to scrub that odor out of that exhaust for the facility. The facility will probably cost between $2.25 and $3 million to construct. That will be happening sometime soon. You have a rough timeline here for what our operations are planning to be. I was a little bit aggressive on when we might start construction of our facility based on this presentation. I think the reality at this point is we probably won't be able to begin construction until next spring. But I'm going to be doing everything within my power to make sure that we can keep this governance. So this also gives you a sense of our funding structure. We've already begun raising equity through friends and family. Securing that initial licensing from Health Canada means a higher likeliness of success for the rest of the company, only because it makes it much easier to raise funding later on once you have that initial approval. We will need to raise close to $5 million in order to succeed, so this is kind of a critical point for our survival of our company to move forward. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that there's multitudes of ways that we can raise funds at that point once we have the initial licensing. Some key industry types of deals or funding structures is a streaming deal, where outside companies invest in our company and provide future. Private equity is involved, but that license initially. So we put together a solid team. We have a proven set strategy to succeed, and I believe the experience to execute on our strategy. Of course, with the town of Minto's continued support, we have no doubt that we'll be able to build a thriving craft cannabis company here. And we're very thankful for your continued openness to this new industry, and are quite grateful to be welcomed so warmly. I personally expect that this will only be the beginning of Dr.'s involvement in Minto and Harrison. And I would also invite anyone that has comments or questions outside of this council meeting in the future to just contact me directly, and be happy to discuss it with anyone in the future. So if you do have specific questions, of course, please let me know. I can address anything. And thank you for your
So, Sean, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
we can likely throw some questions at you now if we have any. I know this is a subject that is pretty big right now, and
Yes.
the more information that we can get and answers, it's a good thing. So,
Absolutely.
go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be good for our community. Um, how, how many staff, and will they be living locally, or will you be hiring locally, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a very good question. We anticipate hiring between 6 and 10 other full-time equivalent staff in the future. Obviously, that's going to be dictated by how fast we grow the staff. But ideally, I would like to source those employees locally or from very close within the Palmerston area. Obviously, that might be a bit of a challenge, but that's the theory anyways. Only really the core management team, the four of us, would be coming from outside of the community here, but I have no doubt that probably some of us will know the team at the time. Does that answer all of your questions?
I think you did.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Other questions? You mentioned, and my hearing isn't great. Sometimes I hear what I want to hear. You said that the first few years you'll be doing 600 kilograms. Your finished product going out the front door 600 kilograms.
That's correct. That's the licensed limit on the processing license. So you can only process, which is essentially extraction or packaging, up to 600 kilograms or 6 million grams of cannabis through our license. Now, the only way that would be different or change is if our cultivation license produces more than that output. Because they could be independent licenses. So an independent processor, microprocessor, can only process up to 600 kilograms. But if you have an integrated, the two licenses, if we grow more than 600 kilograms, we can package and sell it. But based on the square footage and yield, we're anticipating only about 500,000 grams output for our facility. So about 500 kilograms per year. And that's mainly to limit the public safety risk. That's why Health Canada has defined that specific volume as the limit.
Other questions? All right, so that's it for now. This is a key step for you to move along in the process. So if you don't mind, we'll taking your seat, and we'll move along to our applicant or agent. That's you, Sean. The next one then is our county planner to provide comments regarding the proposed amendment.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of council. So it looks like there's been excellent summaries provided so far this evening, so I'm not going to get into too many of the details. Other than just to give you a little bit of background, the report's before you. You've seen the minor modifications, but that didn't affect the proposed zoning bylaw as written. So the amendment would introduce the indoor cultivation of cannabis into the existing industrial zone, into the M1-35 industrial zone. We've taken the opportunity through this zoning to do a slight bit of cleanup, and so I mentioned that we're utilizing the site-specific zone, that M135 zone, that currently exists on the lands in that area along Minto Road. And so the M135 zone exists there on the subject lands, and this application would add the indoor cultivation to those specific lands. And what we're proposing is actually to take to rezone the balance of the lands along Minto Road just to an M135. So know if we can move the mapping along to the zoning map. There we go. So what we would do is keep the M135, add the indoor cultivation of cannabis to the triangular shaped lot, and then for the M135 zone, the balance of those lands, we'll take that and put it back to an straight M1 zone, because the site-specific provisions that are on there relate to the natural environment zones that relate to the stormwater management pond that's currently been built and taken care of. So we took the opportunity to just try to do a little bit of tidying up. And that way we could keep the 35, the number 35, the M1 site specific, and introduce the cannabis cultivation there. So if there was any questions on that proposal, that's what we were thinking of doing there. I think the applicant, if you have any questions about the growing of cannabis, the licensing, the way we wrote the zoning bylaw was to introduce the use. We didn't want to restrict it to a particular type of license. Either the applicant has indicated they're looking for a micro-cultivation license that would allow them up to a certain output. The Health Canada has various different licensing requirements. The standard cultivation allows for a much larger scale. Obviously, this site is it would be limited by its size, and the feeling was that we would introduce the use of indoor cannabis cultivation, and then the applicant would be then able to go to Health Canada and apply for the type of license that would be applicable for their business proposal. So this gives some flexibility, and if in the future the applicant is looking to grow beyond that micro cultivation size that is quite restrictive, this would give them the opportunity to look into the future without needing to rezone, and still needing to adhere to the strict Health Canada criteria for cannabis cultivation, cannabis processing, all of the details that are there. Happy to take any questions.
Questions? Councillor Elliott.
I was looking at this, and if things go well for it, is there room for expansion, or is there, maybe you, Terry, you could help me with that? And if there is, if we restrict that, do we have to do another rezoning to M135? If there is room.
So there is an adjacent 3.74 acre parcel kind of to the south of the subject property. It's not under any conditions of purchase and sale by either the applicant of this application or others. If this facility was to expand into the adjacent southerly land, he would have to come back and apply for rezoning for that specific portion.
Okay.
The zoning is just for what he's purchasing at this point.
Other questions? Okay. Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move along to, sorry, Gord? We'll move along to our Michelle, our Minto staff. You know Michelle 1 or 2? Okay, so you're okay, Michelle. Thank you.
So clearly there's very little to add other than, yes, you did receive hopefully a copy from the applicant. That was the one
We did.
correspondence that we did receive in favor. We did not receive any negative correspondence with this application. And so staff again brought this back forward, and there was no concerns as the zoning amendment does not change the form of development currently allowed in the industrial area as a. So again, we respectfully recommend that council considers talking about that.
Thank you, Michelle. So anyone wish to comment in favor of this proposed amendment? Hearing none, anybody wish to comment in opposition to this proposed amendment? Hearing none. No rebuttals are necessary. Okay. Council, any other questions? Okay, so I'd like to state that if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the Deputy Clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, Ontario, NOG1ZO, or by email to Annaline at town.minto.on.ca. And with no further comments, I'll close this session. So I've got a bylaw here. We have moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Town of Minto Committee, that the Town of Minto Committee of Whole convenes into the Committee of Adjustment. All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're going into our third public meeting. It's a minor variance public meeting, and we did the resolution. And this one here is MV 2019-03, Dennis and Jill Martin. I would like to call this meeting to order. Any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set as a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. Public hearing is to consider minor variance application file number MV 2019-03, Martin, and I'd like to call our Secretary Treasurer Duff to state the following.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The subject property is legally described as Concession 5, Lot 3, Part Lots 1 and 2, Concession D, Part Lot 108, and 61 R6455, Part 1, municipally known as 6718, 4th Line, Town of Minto. The subject land is approximately 85.88 hectares or 212.22 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a dairy barn addition and a liquid manure tank with an MDS2 setback of 255 meters or 838 feet and 289 meters or 947 feet, respectively, to the nearest neighbor's dwelling, whereas Section 6.17.2 of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 0186, as amended, requires minimum distance separation to MDS2 setback to the nearest neighbor's dwelling of 272 meters, 894 feet to the barn addition, and 345 meters or 1133 feet to the liquid manure tank. Notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on April the 18th, 2019, posted on the subject property and circulated to staff on the same date, and the following comments were received: the County of Wellington Planning Report and the Town of Minto Building Assistant Staff Report.
Okay, so I'll call upon the applicant to say a few words if you want to, Dennis or John. So, yeah, come on up to the mic, state your name, and we know you're dairy farmers.
Yes, we are dairy farmers, and I have a bad cold. So, but anyway,
You're John Fuller?
I am. I'm John Fuller. It's actually my residence is in question here. So I don't have any problems with it, and it has been arranged that if I ever do retire, Dennis is going to buy the house anyway. So there won't be any further conflict, I don't think, because it's going to be in Dennis's names anyway. But yeah, we're building onto an existing barn, and the 200 feet is at the end of that 300-foot barn that's from my house now. So it's actually further away than the existing barn. So, and the manure storage is the same way. So I don't see any reason for it to be a problem on our end of it. So,
Questions for John? Thank you very much.
okay.
Jessica, are you next? Please. Linda's really making you do the work here. She's tough.
Yeah, so not much more to add, but so the relief is for the setback for the neighbor's dwelling, and as the applicant mentioned, it's proposed barn addition and manure tank, so there's two separate reliefs required there. So the setbacks to the barn addition is 17 meters or 56 feet, and the relief for the newer tank is 56 meters. And as we said, we don't have any concerns with the application.
Thank you, Jessica. So, Michelle, you're next?
So, again, the town has not received any correspondence either for or against the application, and town staff and the building department and public works department met to review the application, and again, there were no concerns. And the proposed agricultural building sites are done for the purpose, excuse me, of our zoning bylaw, and the village has reviewed this minor and desirable for the development of the existing. So again, we respectfully recommend that the committee receive the report and consider decision.
Questions for Michelle? Anyone? Councillor Elliott?
Regardless of who buys the house after the fact, once this is passed, this is going to be the way it is. Or if someone new coming in and bought the house and said, now I don't like this, it's too late. It's a done deal. Thank you.
Okay, so does anybody else want to speak to the application? Hearing none, is there any questions by the committee? Or response or rebuttal by the applicant or the agent? All right, so I'll ask our Secretary Treasurer to provide a resolution for the committee to consider upon a resolution being carried or defeated, the notice of decision of the committee of adjustment is to be signed by all members of the committee of adjustment in favor of the decision. So the motion.
I have one in favor and we have one denying. So the motion is that the Committee of Adjustment either approves or denies the application by Dennis and Jill Martin for the property legally described as Concession 5, Lot 3, Part Lots 1 and 2, Concession D, Part Lot 108, and 61R6455, Part 1, municipally known as 6718, 4th line, Town of Minto, to construct a dairy barn addition and a liquid manure tank with an MDS2 setback of 255 meters, 838 feet, and 289 meters, 947 feet, respectively, to the nearest neighbor's dwelling, whereas the section 6.17.2 of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 0186, as amended, requires minimum distance separation 2, setback to the nearest neighbor's dwelling of 272 meters, 894 feet, to the barn addition, and 345 meters, 1133 feet, to the liquid manure tank.
So, I'd like a motion and a seconder on either approving or denying this. I'll go ahead, Councillor Dirks.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Sorry.
I'll move to approve.
All right, seconder, Councillor Anderson. Everybody understand the motion? We're voting to approve, so all in favor of the motion? Against? That's carried. On one condition, that we get a tour when it's built. No problem, John? No, there's no conditions. So, all right, so I'd like to state anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision to please sign the request of a notice of decision prior to leaving the council chambers following the meeting. And I'd like to adjourn this public meeting. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks.
Everybody's leaving.
Good to meet you guys.
Nobody wants to stay. Welcome to the north. It's like Game of Thrones. Going to the north.
Thanks, Sean. Don't be a stranger. Okay, Gord, whereabouts are we?
Okay. Bylaws. Way back. What, here, maybe? Are we bit? Yeah, these won't take too long.
Okay,
Are you going to go?
moving right along.
No, I'm going to.
I moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Committee of Adjustment convenes into the regular council meeting. All in favor? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor?
Good night.
That's carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that bylaw 2019-43 to amend zoning bylaw number 01-86 as amended regarding 5704 Wellington Road 4, Palmerston, be introduced and read first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor? Against? It's carried. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that bylaw 2019-44 to approve a temporary road closure and no parking on Allen Street East and Nelson Street East in Clifford during Clifford Street celebration and the dance June 8, 2019, be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor? Against? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Elliott, that bylaw 2019-45 to adopt the use of special events permits with temporary road closures to allow charitable organizations to conduct fundraising activities on the Town of Minto roads, connecting links and streets be introduced and read a first, second, third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that? Against? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor McKenzie, that bylaw 2019-46 to set tax rates for 2019 and provide for the collection thereof be introduced and read a first, second, third time, passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that? Against? That's carried. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that bylaw 2019-47 to amend zoning bylaw number 0186 as amended regarding 345 Minto Road, Palmerston, be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that? Against? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that bylaw 2019-49 to authorize an agreement with the Upper Grand District School Board for after-school program at Clifford Public School be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that? Against? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that bylaw 2019-50 to confirm actions of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held May 7, 2019 be introduced and read a first, second, third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that? Against? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto adjourn to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.